CEO and her staff, please turn your video off. I will now read a roll call of the board to identify who is on the call and who is here with us in person. Please identify yourself first before speaking for the record. Have a pen. I will go through the same roll call for each vote. Commissioner Brooks, Commissioner Chinya, Commissioner Coy,
Present.
Commissioner Griffin, Commissioner Katz-Zogby.
Present.
Awesome. Commissioner McFadden,
Yes, I'm here.
Commissioner Reed,
Present virtually. Thank you.
Commissioner Roberts,
Present.
Commissioner Sally,
Present.
and I am present. That makes us 7 present with 3 absent. Is there a motion to reopen the meeting? Thank you, Commissioner McFadden. Is there a second?
Second. Second, Sally.
Thank you, Commissioner Sally. All in favor? Commissioner Coy,
Yes.
Commissioner Katz-Zogby,
Yes.
Commissioner McFadden,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Sally,
Yes.
and I am in favor. That motion passes with 7 in favor and 3 absent. If you're able to, please stand for the presentation of colors.
Color guard. Oh. Hey. Present. Oh. Ma'am, Lieutenant Colonel Ransom, Reese Partnership High School, Army Junior ROTC, request permission to present colors, ma'am.
Permission granted.
Thank you, ma'am. Order. Oh. The birds. Mark. Left. Left. Right. Left. Left. Color guard. Oh. Precinct. Oh. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
To the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ready, cut. Precinct. Oh. Order. Oh. Oh.
Thank you. I want to thank the JROTC at Reach Partnership High School. We had Commander Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Ransom, National Colors Cadet Captain Jackson, State Colors Cadet Staff Sergeant Wadrick, Rifle Cadet First Lieutenant Spriggs, and Rifle again, Staff Sergeant Anzurez Peralta. Thank you. I'd like to turn it over to Commissioner McFadden.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. I'm Chair Richardson. We would like to take the time to recognize the passing of city school students. They will be remembered fondly by the Greater City Schools community. Tonight, we send our deepest condolences to their families and their friends. Joseph Kasende was a senior at Paul Laurence Dunbar High School on the football team. Words such as kind, compassionate, caring, and intelligent come close, but do not nearly describe the type of person Joseph truly was. He was so much more. Joseph possessed the qualities that you would want in your own son. He was always so generous with his kindness. He taught us gratitude and keenly was aware of others' needs. He made you feel seen and appreciated. When you were helping him with anything, you realized that he was actually helping you. When you spent time with Joseph, you were reminded through his words and actions to be patient with others and sincere and genuine with your words and your actions. We will miss him, his amazing smile that will brighten your day, and his calming presence. We believe that having Joseph in our lives, even in the short amount of time we were privileged to have spent with him, has helped to make us all better human beings. Deontay Dorsey was a sophomore at Edmondson Westside High School. Deontay had a quiet smile that demanded respect from his peers. He was a leader in many of his classes, especially his chemistry class. He loved to help his classmates solve electron configurations. He was so witty that he was never able to be stumped when writing chemical formulas. Deontay was a quiet soul who was learning the importance of time management and being a responsible young person, and how that has an impact on who you are. Deontay loved his family more than anything, especially his grandma, Miss Peggy Dorsey. One of his favorite pastimes was to ride and fix bikes. Deontay's positive outlook on life will live on in the hearts of those who loved him, both at home and at Edmondson Westside High School. Mykera Brianna Robinson was a 12th grader at the William S. Baer School. Mykera was a very loving and caring student. She loved to learn new things every day and enjoyed making friends smile. Mykera's favorite class was dance therapy. She enjoyed the music and dancing along with the guidance of the teacher. She enjoyed engaging with her peers and was learning new skills each day. Mykera was making progress on her IEP objectives and enjoyed being read to from modified books. Mykera was a true leader who enjoyed helping her peers during classes. She also was a great big sister, and she would often check on her little brother in the class next door to make sure that he was doing well on his academic tasks. Mykera's smile was infectious, and if you saw her smile, you would automatically smile as well. Mykera was always full of life and energy and constantly had a loving heart. Her energy level was always 100%, and she brought so much joy to the school. Mykera started at William S. Baer School when she was 3 years old. Mykera left the school when she was in the 8th grade and went to George W. F. McMecken High School. She had just returned to William S. Baer School to finish her certificate of completion when she transitioned. Mykera will be missed by her family, community, and her friends. Dylan King will be remembered as an enthusiastic 3rd grade student and a loving friend at Matthew A. Henson Elementary School. Through his toothy grin, Dylan could have easily tried to fade into the background, but he always made his presence known in class. That presence was a gift. He never coveted his detailed answers or his silly jokes. He used them to enrich the learning of his classmates or to cheer someone up. It was a privilege to watch Dylan grow, and he will truly be missed by family, school community, and friends. Would you all please join me in a moment of silence for these incredible students that we've lost? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McFadden. Is there a motion to approve the prior open session minutes?
So move, McFadden.
Thank you, Commissioner McFadden. Is there a second?
Second, Robert.
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. All in favor? Commissioner Coy,
Yes.
Commissioner Griffin,
Yes.
Commissioner Katz Zogby,
Yes.
Commissioner McFadden,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Sally,
Yes.
and I am in favor. That motion passes with 8 in favor and 2 absent. Is there a motion to approve the closed session summaries?
So move, McFadden.
Thank you, Commissioner McFadden. Is there a second?
Second, Robert.
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. All in favor? Commissioner Coy,
Yes.
Commissioner Griffin,
Yes.
Commissioner McFadden,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Sally,
Yes.
and I am in favor. That motion passes with 7 in favor and 2 absent. So hello, everyone. Welcome to our January 24th board meeting. I am happy to be here with you all tonight. And we have people in here with us, so I'm really excited tonight. Some amazing things are happening in Baltimore City Public Schools. I want to take this opportunity to highlight 2 of those things. The first is the 2023 FAFSA Fest. That is really a tongue twister for me tonight. I just want to admit I have new Invisalign like in my mouth, and it's going to be really tough, so bear with me. The FAFSA Fest are a series of virtual and in-person sessions during January and February where students can learn how to earn money for college, ask important questions about FAFSA applications, and engage with local colleges and universities. If you are a student in grades 6 through 12 and interested in going to college, I strongly recommend you attend at least one of these sessions. Event dates and other important information on FAFSA Fest are available on the City Schools website. The second amazing thing is the launch of the Off the Grid podcast. Our talented students on the City Schools student media team have created this bi-weekly podcast series called Off the Grid to discuss the issues that affect students in Baltimore City. The podcast covers topics such as mental health, grades, family, friends, building relationships, and so much more. The first podcast episode, called Laugh a Little, premiered on the City Schools TV YouTube channel on January 13th and discussed personal experiences with bullying and using laughter as a form of self-healing. To listen to Off the Grid podcast, please visit the City Schools TV YouTube channel. I think it is fantastic to see our students creating more safe spaces to express themselves and advocate for student voice. My colleagues and I look forward to witnessing the progression of this podcast. Thank you all very much. I want to turn it back over to Commissioner McFadden to go over our retirees.
We have several members of our City Schools community who we're recognizing tonight. So if you are in the room, if you're a retiree, just wave your hand. Okay, and if you're virtual with us, would you please come join us on screen? And we'll acknowledge you each as we go through, and hopefully you all are able to appear for us. Either way, we're going to recognize you all this evening, and members of our community will as well. So Wanda Dew began working with Baltimore City Schools on December 14th, 1989. She most recently served as a paraeducator at the historic Samuel Coleridge Taylor Elementary School. Ms. Dew served the children of Baltimore City Schools for 33 years. Thank you for your service. Marva Davis began working with Baltimore City Schools on March 21st, 1988. She most recently served as a special education assistant at Claremont High. Ms. Davis served the children of Baltimore City Schools for 34.9 years. Thank you for your service. Susan Sappho began working with Baltimore City Schools on October 20th, 1986. She most recently served as a staff associate for the Office of Enrollment, Choice, and Transfers. Ms. Sappho served the children of Baltimore City Schools for 35.7 years. Thank you so much. Drusilla Sharp Ms. Sharp began working with Baltimore City Public Schools on November 2nd, 1981. She most recently served as a department assistant for facilities, the Southeast Cluster 4. Ms. Sharp served the children of Baltimore City Schools for 41.1 years. Thank you for those years of service. Mary Cooper Brown began working with Baltimore City Public Schools on March 23rd, 1977. She most recently served as an educational specialist 2, placement for special populations. Mary Cooper Brown faithfully served the children of city schools for 45.9 years. And Doretha Jones began working with city schools on July 30th, 1975. She most recently served as a customer service liaison for regular transportation. Doretha Jones faithfully served the children of Baltimore City Public Schools for 47.5 years. Can we all just give those retirees a round of applause? Thank you all so much for your years of service and your commitment to the greater Baltimore City community. Madam Chair.
I'm sorry. Thank you. I want to now turn it over to Dr. Santelises for CEO comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and it is my pleasure to, I was looking at the screen, but she's here with us, to invite Chief Nielsen for this evening's PEP agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Santelises, and good evening, commissioners. We have a very short PEP tonight. A CEO notification of an appointment in the Office of the Chief Operating Officer, Catherine Harris Toller, currently Program Evaluator 2, SER, be appointed Special Assistant, Office of the Chief Operating Officer, effective January 25th, 2023. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Nielsen. I would like to begin this evening by celebrating a remarkable achievement by 2 of our students from Baltimore Polytechnic Institute. Earlier this month, it was announced that 2 Poly seniors, Holland Lowe and Kaif Raymond, Kaif, did I say your name correctly? I'm gonna try again. Have been selected for the National 2023 Regeneron Science Talent Search Award. This prestigious award specifically identifies future leaders in science, and previous winners include Nobel Prize winners, National Academy of Science Award winners, and MacArthur Prize winners, and more. I will tell you a little secret. That my father, who was a chemist, one day hoped this was like the earlier Westinghouse iteration of this, that I would one day be in that spot, and I'm here to tell you I did not make it, but I am glad that the 2 of you have proven far smarter than I am. Holland Lowe's research was the impacts of modulating reaction time on active sensing in weakly electric fish. And Kaif, is it Raymond? Raymond. Kaif Raymond's research was an analysis of carbon isotopic values and small shelly fossils of the Paleta Formation in Lower Cambrian. Again, the titles of their research would probably do my father proud, but I cannot attest to knowing anything about what they mean. But fortunately for Baltimore City Schools, Holland and Kaif are with us tonight, along with their proud principal, Ms. Jacqueline Williams of Baltimore Polytechnic Institute. It is truly my pleasure to invite Kaif, Holland, and Principal Williams to the, I guess it's panel or table up front here, to just speak briefly about what this honor means to them, and then we will take questions from both you as well as the board. All right, and thank you, Commissioner Coy, who is making sure that we have enough seats for everybody. So please, I'd invite you forward to the table now. Thank you, Commissioner Coy.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I have with me today, as Dr. Santelises just stated, two of our Poly scholars from the Ingenuity Project, Holland Lowe and Kay Fremont. They have been recognized by the Regeneron Science Talent Search as elite scholars for their overall achievement and groundbreaking science projects. After those long pandemic years, it's good to see for us at Poly scholars returning to the spotlight. Welcome, Holland and Kate.
Hi, I'm Kay Fremont, and tonight I'd just like to share something about how important ingenuity in Poly and research was to me. My project was in paleontology, which I'm sure a lot of you all are familiar with dinosaurs and things of the sort. And that's definitely where my passion started. When I was around 6 years old, I loved all things dinosaurs, staying up late to watch Jurassic Park reruns on the Sci-Fi Channel, and falling in love with everything through that. You know, I was everybody's little nephew reciting Stegosaurus and T-Rex and Brachiosaurus and so on and so forth. And, you know, my parents thought, oh, it's a dinosaur phase, he'll grow out of it. And 10 years later, I hadn't grown out of it. But I had a question kind of creeping in the back of my head. And that question was, is paleontology really what I want to do with my life? Or have I just been kind of telling myself this over and over to the point where I think it's true? And luckily, that clarification came for me very early on, thanks to the Ingenuity Project. I was able to participate in a 2.5-year research project all about paleontology, where I discovered it's really, truly my passion and something I love doing and care about deeply. And thanks to the motivation, help, and support from the Ingenuity Project and all our wonderful staff at Poly, I was able to fulfill my vision and realize this is what I want to go for college for and really focus on in my future. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you. Please, Holland.
That's it. Okay. Hi, my name is Holland Lowe. I just wanted to thank you guys for having me out here today. Yeah, so how I got interested in my research with active sensing, I actually, sophomore year during COVID, I dislocated my knee during a soccer game. So during the rehabilitation process, I just pondered and had a bunch of thoughts about how, like, how do different parts of the body move and how does everything like work inside the body. And luckily I met Dr. Noah Cowan through Dr. Rosen, who's a part of the Ingenuity Project, and he introduced me to active sensing. And so, yeah, that was the basis of my project. It was really fun to get to work with him and my supervisor, you, for 2 years. And it's just really nice to be recognized for something that I put so much time into and something that I really enjoyed along the way. And obviously, you guys were all touched by it as well. And especially since I don't think we've had anyone be semifinalists since 2019. Yeah, and definitely after COVID happened, the process of getting back into lab was pretty difficult. So it's just a really great accomplishment and I'm really proud.
That's awesome. Can we give them all a hand, please? And I'd like to open it up now for questions and comments from our board.
We are certainly very proud of you all. And if you can see your principal's face, you can see it. She's just as proud as we are. You all are why we do what we do every single day, to make sure that you all have opportunities like the ones that you have been afforded to demonstrate your brilliance, right? On a platform where so many can see how brilliant the young people in city schools are. And so we're very proud of you. So my golden question, and I see Commissioner Griffin also has a question. This will be very brief, Commissioner Griffin. Where are you going to college? Because like a lot of seniors are, well, I'm holding off. You know, I want to make a big announcement in a couple of weeks. So you can make your big announcement in front of everyone tonight.
Well, that really is the golden question, because that is the one I would love the answer to as well. Throughout the college admissions process, I'm sure Holland and I are both holding out on our admissions decisions.
You're holding out, so that means you're not telling us tonight?
That means we have not received them yet. So as much as I'd love to, tell you.
So what are some of the options?
I would love to study at the University of Texas, Austin, and continue paleontological work with the evolution and anatomy of birds they're doing there.
Awesome.
Yeah, I have a few options. I'm still trying to narrow it down. Definitely UMD's up there, great in-state school. My brother, he actually went to Poly as well, and he went to Lafayette, so I applied there as well. Maybe that's an option. UNC Chapel Hill, it's a good one out there. So I don't know if I'll get into that one, but it's a goal.
Wherever you're supposed to be is where you will be to continue to demonstrate your brilliance. But please, can you not forget to let us know where you get into? Because this is really exciting. This is really exciting. Commissioner Griffin.
Hello and good evening to you all. I'm really just excited to hear about the work that you all have been doing in Ingenuity and hearing the research and the specialized topics. I wanted to say a special hello to Principal Williams. I don't know if you remember me, but you were my trigonometry teacher when I was at Poly. So I just wanted to come on and say hello to you too. And it's so great to see you. The question that I had for our students is, what would you say was like one aha moment that you had when you were doing your research? Like, what was something that just made a light bulb go off for you, and that made you maybe fall in love with your project even more?
I think for me, that was when I picked up a rock and said, wow, it's a really pretty rock. And my lab supervisor turned to me and said, well, actually, it's a really ugly rock. And I laughed to myself and said, what constitutes an ugly rock? And she explained to me in great details the complexities of geology, which really opened up my brain to a lot of things I was not aware of before.
Yeah, I think for me, like just being able to get into the lab, that was a whole new experience for me. So like working with these fish and like seeing the experiences or experiments that previous researchers has done, it was just like how they like track the refuge and like use different like active sensing movements to do that as well. And like having someone that was able to explain that to me, and I was just like, wow, like I want to definitely look further into that, and I want to figure out more about active sensing and how we can use it in the real world. And it turns out we can use it for plenty of things, such as robots, and also to make other evolutionary connections as well, which are pretty important. So
That is amazing. I always love hearing when our brains light up like, oh my God, new information. And it's something that you can take with you and continue to do great work with. And I just know you all are going to continue to go on and do some amazing things. And when I said hi to Principal Williams, I didn't get to see you on camera, so I'll wave at you this time to say hello. But congratulations. And it's always great to see some fellow Poly parrots doing their thing. So thank you all for being here tonight.
Commissioner Quinn. And Commissioner Quinn, that is your preference, correct, Commissioner Quinn?
Commissioner Quinn or Commissioner Katsogby is fine.
Which one do you choose? Because we want to be consistent.
Better. I know that it's hard to pronounce sometimes. I can empathize with
Yeah, but we'll get over it, right? That's your name. So whatever you prefer is what we're going to call you.
Commissioner Katsogby would be best. Thank you.
Got you. Commissioner Katsogby, it's up to you.
So I just want to say, as a fellow senior, someone else going through all of the same stuff that you guys are going through, my main question was, I have physics tomorrow, and it would be really great if one or both of you could help me. I'm really struggling, guys. I'm so lost. I go to art school for a reason. But anyway, seriously, it's so incredible that you guys are doing all of this really incredible work when I'm spending half of my day like sitting in a room talking about my feelings. But I'm not jealous at all. I'm not at all. But it's really cool that you guys are doing this, and I'm really proud of you guys. And I know that you guys are going to do great things in your life. And I just hope that we can make our grade proud. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And just memorize those kinematic equations and you'll be fine.
I definitely know what those are.
Commissioner Coy.
Yeah, adding my congratulations, to the amazing work that you're doing. I had the opportunity to attend one of the award ceremonies for Regeneron and just know what that means. So congratulations. My question for you is, thinking about your fellow students, whether they're in the class of 2023 or not, what piece of advice would you give someone, perhaps even someone younger, thinking, back on 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, wherever you want to pick in your journey, what piece of advice would you give to a fellow student?
Find your dream and keep pushing. Don't give up and just put all your resources into doing what you want to accomplish, and I guarantee it will happen.
Yeah, I think, just in high school in general, any school really, I think a big important thing is like definitely managing your time. It's been a struggle for me, but it's helped me keep organized, and like it's also helped me figure out like where the paths that I want to take in life as well. So it's a really good mind step to be like organized and controlled over what you want to do.
Well, on behalf of the entire family that is Baltimore City Public Schools, we are so proud of you both. We need to hurry up and get your autographs now before it costs us like millions of dollars to get it because you win a Nobel Prize. But in the process, just know we are proud of you. And I just want to commend Principal Williams, who has really steered the ship at Poly well. She has taken some push from me and from others, and she has more than come up to the plate. She has led a school that produces 2 young, and I'm glad you used the word elite scholars like we have in front of us today. And frankly, you lead an elite school that is, I think, currently ranked 24 or 28 in the nation, correct? For science and technology. So not at number 1 in the state and number 28 in the nation. And you should know that Mr. Santelises probably says that at least 3 times a week because he is so proud. So I want to thank you also for your leadership and your staff, our partners at Ingenuity, and just families and friends who have also supported you. So thank you again. And thanks so much for joining us. This is a great way to have an in-person meeting. So thanks again. Great. Absolutely. Have a great
Dr.
night.
Santelises, I would also like to acknowledge the Deputy Director of the Ingenuity Program, Dr. Celine Willis, who just walked up to take pictures.
Oh, very good. Very good. Good to have. Thank you for that. Great. All right, so next week marks the launch of the annual United Way City Schools fundraising campaign, which really is a great way to help families in need across Central Maryland. I am pleased to welcome Ms. Natalie Dixon, Vice President of Education and Senior Program Officer at United Way, along with Michelle Martin of United Way, and our very own Dr. Andrea Bowden, City Schools co-chair for the fundraising drive again this year. Please, we welcome you this evening. Yes.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Michelle Martin, Senior Relationship Manager at United Way, and it is again my pleasure to be here with you and partnering again this year with Baltimore City Public Schools to spark a change. Next slide, please. For almost 100 years, United Way of Central Maryland has lived and breathed this region by partnering with companies, organizations, and city governments. We strive to make lives better by assisting in providing basic needs such as housing, health, education, and employment. And in doing so, we create strong neighbors, which in turn creates stronger neighborhoods. We provide what's needed, where it's needed, promoting equity and creating opportunities. Next slide, please. On Monday, January 16th, United Ways across the state partnered with Westmore and Aruna Miller team, the Westmore and Aruna Miller team for an MLK Day of Service. Thousands of volunteers donated their time to make sure people received food and meals, students received stress relief kits and school supplies, and a few puppies in training in the Warrior Canine Connection got lots of cuddles. In addition, 7,000 students from 25 public schools participated in efforts last week to reflect on what they can do to better their communities and neighborhoods. Our goal was to get the young minds of Maryland to think about how to keep Maryland a beautiful and safe place for everyone, There were 5 Baltimore City public schools that participated in this event, and these included Bel Air Edison School, Cross Country Elementary Middle School, Gardenville Elementary School, and Walter P. Carter Elementary Middle School, and Westport Academy. Next slide, please. United Way of Central Maryland's Neighborhood Zones program supports social, economic, and educational advancement in the Poppleton, West Baltimore area and Brooklyn Curtis Bay, as well as a 3rd location in Columbia, Maryland. The program offers on-site family centers at the Ben Franklin High School and Excel Academy. These family centers offer full-day childcare for infants and toddlers so students can stay in school and graduate, housing and employment assistance, dropout prevention programs, mental health services, and access to healthy foods. In the most recent school year, Ben Franklin has offered parenting support to 11 students and early education to 12 children. Excel Academy supports 12 parent students and early childhood education to 10 children. And now I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Natalie Dixon, who is the Vice President of Education and a Senior Program Officer at United Way. And she's going to speak briefly about United Way's education involvement.
Thanks, Michelle. Thank you all for having us. We have been very supportive of the entire family of Baltimore City Schools for many years and are excited to continue our partnership. We are working on a number of initiatives together. I'm going to just quickly tick through them. Michelle already mentioned the United Way neighborhood zones. The other work that comes out of the work that's done there is community schools, and we are a proud lead agency for 5 community schools for Baltimore City. The next initiative we partner on together is called On Track for Success. This is a collaborative approach. We're working with teachers, support staff, and administrators to use data effectively to keep students on the path to high school graduation and school success. We're working with school staff and drawing on their collective expertise to identify strategies to help students and sometimes also families who are struggling in an effort to get them back on track and basically reset their trajectory. We're currently supporting 4 schools in South Baltimore and look forward to expanding our work across the system. Next slide, please. And finally, our newest initiative, which we are super excited to have the opportunity to partner with you all on, is called Young Men United. This is a program that's been in the planning stages for a couple of years at the national level, and we are one of the first United Ways in the country to launch this effort in partnership with you all. This is an initiative that will build on the incredible work you all have done in the area of career readiness and CTE programming. And it's really designed to help young men of color achieve both their educational and vocational dreams. You know, completing high school, getting into a post-secondary education program or pathway of their choosing that aligns with their goals and makes sense for whatever their unique situation is, seeing them through whatever that program is with mentoring and other kinds of supports, and then helping them transition from that program after completion or graduation into their first full-time career track position. So we will be with them every step of the way. For a young man who chooses to pursue a bachelor's degree, that will be a 7-year commitment that United Way will be making not only to the young man, but also his family. Much of United Way's work is done from a multi-generational perspective, and this program absolutely will follow in that path. We intend to launch this program at both Patterson High School and Ben Franklin High School, and then expand from there over the course of the next couple of years. So I know we're short on time. I'm going to hand it over to Andrea, who's going to talk more about the campaign.
I would like to say hello again to Dr. Santos. This is my 5th year working with this wonderful United Way campaign.
I don't want to interrupt you, but just to hit that green button. There we go.
Thank you.
Basically, what we do in Baltimore City is have school-based and
office-based chairpersons to coordinate this, which makes it a very personal kind of thing. Here in central office, Jim Brennan makes sure that we have a cohesive effort here. We have co-chairs, David Verdi, who has been with us before as a co-chair at the Achievement Academy in the northern part of the city. He facilitates, I have a little cubby there where we put together the materials, etc. And we are very happy to welcome Mavis Jackson, principal of Digital Harbor High School, my last school. And now we have a site in southern part of the city we'll be using for training, etc. I also have to thank so many people for this and what they do, including the mail room. Those gentlemen take these bags out, they bring things back. And this is a cooperative effort. Next slide, please. So as we look at what we want to do for this year, we have set a higher goal monetarily. We have also set a higher participation goal. We have some very high donors, and Mavis is one of them, but what we want to increase is the number of smaller donors. If every one of our staff members gave just $5, we'd have $52,000. Okay, so it is the participation as well as the ultimate amount. Coordinators are very creative. They have special activities. They have happy hours. They have all kinds of things because so many people recognize the wonderful work that United Way does. Next slide. We want to thank all of you for your support. Baltimore City Schools is very pleased to cooperate again this year with United Way. If you have any questions, we'll take them now.
I just have to say something because Dr. Bowden was one of the assistant principals when I taught at Digital Harbor High School. And I will just say the work that is outlined here, the things that you all were talking about, I'm not surprised to see Dr. Bowden continuing to advance those and just really appreciate what this does mean for our students and for your advocacy across the board. So thank you. And I hope to see those goals reached. I'm glad to see that. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you, Commissioner Coy. Are there any other commissioners with questions?
I just want to have just a brief comment. I just want to thank United Way for just your support here in city schools and in our communities. They mean a lot to our vulnerable student populations and our families who need the support, but the entire support really helps us to knit together the fabric of communities to help build a more vibrant Baltimore and Central Maryland. So just want to thank you for your work and support.
I do want to remind people that if you recall, when we did combined charges, we took a thick book and we looked through it. Everything is going digital now, right? But we will still have paper forms and for people, for instance, our grounds people are not as oriented toward computers as our teaching staff. So, we will still have the paper forms. We will still be collecting green money, as the kids say. And so, this is a, multi-pronged effort.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Sally. Are there any other questions? Okay, well, I want to thank you all again. I want to thank you all for just your continued work on this campaign. Encourage all of the Baltimore City Schools, family, staff to really get involved in this year's campaign. And thank you all so much. And then moving along, earlier today, the Maryland State Department of Education released this year's MCAP test results. Now, the MCAP is our Maryland Comprehensive Summative Assessment every year. They released those test results in math and language arts for the tests that were administered in spring of 2022. These are the first MCAP results since before the pandemic. Chief Teresa Jones is with us to provide a high-level review of our progress. And before there's just a couple of things that I will just say overarching before Chief Jones takes us into some of the details of the data. First, I think it's really important to emphasize that our students' accomplishment in ELA really reflects an ELA performance that is higher than it was right before the pandemic. And what that means is that even though we clearly have much ground to make up, we actually are growing. Our results on this test show a rate of growth that is actually faster than the state. And given the really statewide and countrywide negative impact of the pandemic, the fact that we actually saw increases that exceeded our pre-pandemic shows that the investments and focus that we have had as a district in literacy are paying off and are gaining momentum. It's in fact those investments that allowed us, frankly, to weather the storm of the last 2 years the way that we have. And I think it's important to note that when MSDE, when the state superintendent presented today, he showed a summary of data showing changes in literacy scores across 21 states, and 18 of those 21 states actually lost ground in literacy. Only 3 of those 21 saw increases of 1% or 2%, and what that says to me is that our investment in literacy is gaining ground, and we are seeing some of the fruits of that gap closing that we know is a goal of our work. The other piece that I will say before I turn it over to Chief Jones is we also know from these results that what we saw from NAEP is that we need to do the same level of work and deep focus in the area of mathematics. We discussed that a bit when the NAEP results were released. It is confirmed in the MCAP results that Chief Jones is going to walk you through. And I think what is most important is noting that our entire state went down, plummeted, frankly, in mathematics. That's noteworthy. But even more important is the fact that we did not wait for the release of MCAP results to begin our work in planning for the acceleration in mathematics. We've used some of what we've learned in literacy, and Chief Dabrowski has already convened both internal math folks and math experts across the district, along with our partners across the city, to really chart new investments in mathematics that are strategic, and we will be presenting to the board in the spring, Madam Chair, that strategic plan in mathematics. So I think it's important to note that, again, we did not wait for these results to get started, and we are building on our successes. And I think it really is a credit to the ongoing work that we've seen that we have the successes where we are, and we can build on those in mathematics. So I will now turn it over to Chief Teresa Jones to walk us through some of the overview of the data. Thank you, Chief Jones.
Thank you so much, Dr. Santelises, and good evening, commissioners, and good evening, members of the public. My name is Teresa Jones, and I have the pleasure of serving the district as the Chief Achievement and Accountability Officer. For this evening's presentation, I'm going to ask Mr. Kennedy to move to the next slide. We're going to start with a bit of an overview of the MCAP assessment. I just want to remind folks that because of the pandemic, there was a disruption in state assessment. So we had a 2-year period where there were no state assessments administered. With the return of the spring 2022 results, we're starting to sort of regain the regular annual cycle of having state assessments to measure student progress. And what this is the state's ability to understand how students are faring as it relates to the expectations for their specific grade level and content area. The MCAP assessment, and MCAP is for the Maryland Comprehensive Assessment Program. It provides really important information to families, to educators, and to the public about that academic progress. And it also allows us to understand how well prepared our students are for post-secondary success. When it comes to student tested areas in city schools, our students test in English language arts in grades 3 through 8 and English 10 at the high school level, and for mathematics in grades 3 through 8 and algebra 1 at the high school level. This spring 2022 assessment is new. So I also want to acknowledge that there was a disruption in the transition from the PARCC assessment, which was last administered in school year 18-19. And as a function of that new assessment development, there's actually a different way that results are being reported. So I just want to make a note of that here so that folks are aware. There was a change in the number of performance levels as it relates to measuring the level of proficiency. We now have 4 performance levels with the MCAP assessment versus the 5 that we had previously. So as we share results this evening, we will take a look at what is the equivalent level of proficiency across the 2 assessments to understand the pre-pandemic effects as well as post-pandemic recovery. We also want to note that the MCAP allows the state of Maryland to meet the federal Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA, requirements as it relates to accountability, and that the data that are created for the MCAP are incorporated into the state's accountability system, which produces a report card rating for schools across the state of Maryland. We will be coming back with an update for the board and the public in February around the plans for this next round of report card ratings so that you'll have an understanding there again of how the MCAP ratings contribute to those overall ratings. When it comes to the results that we're sharing this evening, I do just want to name the fact that these are highlights. We received this summary data yesterday. And so we have tried to turn around some of the key insights based on our initial analysis to give you a bit of an update around how we perform relative to the state. So first and foremost, in the area of English language arts, we take a look at the rate of change. Our rate of change it was actually better than the state in 3 of the 7 tested grades and subjects. And when it comes to math, while we did not necessarily post increases, we did have smaller declines than the state in 4 of the 7 tested grades and subjects. So as Dr. Santelises indicated, this does give us a sense of how the pre-pandemic work allowed us to sort of weather that storm, if you will, particularly on the English language arts side of things. And as the NAEP results indicated, mathematics was more challenging from a recovery perspective, and so you'll see pretty similar declines happening just across the board when you look at national data, state data, from state to state data when it comes to mathematics. So the net of that is noted here on the right, in noting that we saw, in effect, gap closure in 7 of the 14 tested grades and subjects by way of comparing our overall results versus the state of Maryland. Next slide, please. So when we take a look at the contributing factors to these results, first and foremost, we want to acknowledge the literacy investments that we've been making have paid dividends. So the proactive strategies that were in place alongside the recovery efforts indicated in our R3 plan helped us avoid some of the sharp climbs that other districts experienced, and actually allowed us to see some encouraging gains in some key areas. As we go through this, I will make a note of English 10. That was the area that we saw the largest increase, and that was to the effect of 18 percentage points. When it comes to math, again, the outcomes do mirror those greater trends, representing a lot of really important strategic work that needs to happen to support math academic achievement. And then, as we noted before, particularly when it comes to math, you will see that there are some instances where the gap closure that we're showing isn't necessarily because we are increasing our performance, but it's because our declines are not as steep as those of the state. Next slide, please. So let's first talk about our English language arts proficiency results. So what I'd like to note here is that, as you can see, prior to the pandemic, we were gaining some really good momentum. You saw some really good solid increases there. And as we take a look at where we are now, we are up by 1 percentage point versus where we were pre-pandemic. So in light of the circumstances, this is noteworthy. Also want to make note of the fact that not only did we see that 1 percentage point increase, the state was actually flat when you compare results aggregated for grades 3 through 8. Next slide, please. When it comes to English 10 proficiency, if you take a look at the absolute numbers, you'll see that we more than doubled the percentage of proficient students to the tune of 34% versus where we were pre-pandemic at 16%. Again, you'll see right before the pandemic, we were also on a slight upward trajectory there as well. But that jump is noteworthy, especially considering the fact that while we had an 18 percentage point increase, the state had a 10 percentage point increase. Next slide, please. When it comes to English 10, one of the things that we always do when we take a look at this assessment is we take a look at the results among our first-time test takers. The English Language Arts 10th grade assessment has served the purposes of one of the graduation requirements for some time. And because of that, historically, we've had students that have had to take the test more than once if they were not able to pass it in that first go. Because of the pandemic and because of changes in graduation requirements, when we take a look at our data, first and foremost to note the results from school year 21-22 is entirely first-time test takers, because again, there were no students taking the assessment in the prior year because of the pandemic. So when we compare our results apples to apples and looking at first-time test takers in 21-22 versus where we were pre-pandemic, we also see there that we've had a notable increase to the tune of 7 percentage points. Next slide, please. So when we take a look at mathematics, again, one of the things that we have noted is that math has been a bit challenging. We were on an upward trajectory there as well prior to the pandemic. So you do see that reflected in the data. We were flat in those last 2 years, but if you take a look over the 4-year period, you can see some of those impacts. And again, noting the significant declines across the board for the state of Maryland. In our case, we had a decline of 7 percentage points. When we take a look at the overall math performance for grades 3 through 8, where the state of Maryland decreased by 11 percentage points. Next slide, please. So as we're sharing the results this evening, we thought this would be a great time to just highlight some of the contributing factors to the results that we see, as well as highlight some of the work ahead. First and foremost, with our ongoing investments, we want to acknowledge that, the curriculum materials that we have been utilizing in support of not only our core curriculum of Wit and Wisdom, but also to support foundational literacy through Foundations and Hegarty to provide additional support for students are key contributing factors to our ability to sort of weather the storm of the pandemic. Additionally, investments we've made in literacy coaching. So we have invested in a variety of efforts to improve teachers' ability to identify creative ways to close gaps and learn from one another. And that's reflected here as well. You'll see for college and career readiness, we have an initiative we call the 9th Grade on Track project that allows us to bring together schools to implement strategies that help us collaborate and support 9th graders towards an on track to graduation success in 4 years. And also when it comes to secondary literacy, as a part of our recovery efforts, we were able to leverage some of our tutoring resources to support academic recovery in both literacy as well as in mathematics to some extent. And so you'll see there reference to some of the investments that were made in school year 21-22. There is ongoing work done in this area. So that's another area that we continue to invest in and are able to leverage the recovery dollars to support those recovery efforts. Next slide, please. In terms of proactive strategies, to a large extent, these reflect what we have noted in our R3, or our Reconnect, Restore, Reimagine recovery plan. So first and foremost, just making note of the foundational tutoring efforts that are underway. We have a model that the district has developed that is showing a lot of promise in its ability to help build foundational literacy skills, which will enable students to perform well in future administrations of the MCAP assessment. There's the small group learning time investments that allow us to have high quality instructional materials available to students alongside personalized learning platforms in ways that allow for everyday learning to get additional supports there. And then of course, there's the extended learning period at the end of the day. In most schools, this has been prioritizing students with unfinished learning to provide them with that extended time so that they have that alongside the additional personalized time that is in the regular school day schedule. Next slide, please. And then when it comes to some of the investments that we've been leveraging the ESSER COVID relief funds to support, we've also been able to leverage those to support summer learning, particularly for our kindergarten through 8th grade students with a focus on academic recovery and literacy and mathematics. So we're continuing to leverage those investments and to build on our learning around how to get even more value from those investments. We have our student learning plans, which are a key resource for families, student and educators to leverage to ensure that we have a plan for individualized learning for each and every student. And then, of course, when it comes to professional development, we continue to leverage an arc of learning, not only in the work we do in literacy, but now looking to expand that in our work in mathematics. So the idea here is that we've already begun to show this focus with our grade 2 and 3 teachers as we are embarking upon additional focus for the mathematics area. Next slide. So with that, I'd like to open up to the board for any comments or questions. I'll also just make note, we've included in the presentation a few hyperlinks. So we will be posting additional information to our website and providing future updates as more analysis is conducted, as more data become available. I also want to acknowledge the State Board's presentation today. We've included a link there so that you can access those presentation materials. And as noted, this data is used as a part of the Maryland Report Card. And so the data are also available for download at the Maryland Report Card website. At this time, I'd like to turn it back to Dr. Santelises to see if she has any additional comments before we ask board members for comments or questions.
No, thank you, Chief Jones, for that. And I will just repeat your request, and that is if the board has any questions, comments. Oh, sorry, Commissioner Coy, you have very subtle hand raised, so I missed it all the time. Yeah. Yeah,
I just always have things to say, and questions and comments. No, but the thing, Dr. Santelises, Chief Jones, that I want to emphasize and just underscore is how fast you have turned this around to us here tonight. I mean, literally near real time. That there are things coming in today, things from yesterday. I know it's been delayed from the state for what has been in the past. I know how important this is for things that relate across the school system. And so just want to say thank you for the quick analysis that you are doing. I know there's more coming, but that you aren't waiting until it is all in to start sharing it and sharing it with us and having conversation. And to your earlier point, that you're already implementing strategies to address the known things that our own data insight and what we are hearing from principals, teachers, school system, staff need to be addressed. And so I just applaud you for that. I look forward to learning specifically around the math efforts and the strategic planning that's going into that. I know that's been a question that has come up before, and I know fellow Commissioner Reed has sort of underscored that. It's been a conversation, as was highlighted earlier by Dr. Santelises, going back to earlier in the school year. So I think this is really important work, and just appreciate the quick turn on this data here to us for today.
I'd like to thank you, Commissioner Coy, for the acknowledgement around that. As you indicated, there will be additional analyses coming. So you should expect to not only hear that within staff presentations as we report out on the strategies and the work that we're doing, but you'll also see that reflected in our updated ESSER plan. So that will be coming forward as well. So we'll be using the MCAP data to create some projections around how we're going to improve student performance there. So I appreciate the acknowledgement. And I'll also say, in terms of data, we still are awaiting more data from the state. So the data set that we have now is the summary data. So that's what we use to provide this presentation. Student level data is being provided in updated format. So the data that we have yet is not final. And so we will continue to keep the board up to date around when data are available to inform other decisions that are requiring this data. Thank you, sir.
It's Commissioner Sally.
And Chief Jones, could you let us know and the public know, how they might be able to access some of these data files? Like what can we expect on school report cards this year? How that information will evolve over time so the public can access those things?
Absolutely. So number one, I'm going to give a little bit of a teaser here because one of the things that we want to be able to do is to prepare our whole Baltimore City community for the return of the report card. So based on the timelines we've been given, we are anticipating the report cards to be released on February 28th. So we will actually be coming forward to the board on February 14th with a presentation that describes the changes that the state is planning to implement. They shared some of that information at their board meeting today, so we'll be able to bring that information forward. And in addition to that, as we actually receive the data, data, we'll be able to come back with updates around how we're doing versus our prior report card ratings. We have had examples in the past where we've showed meaningful improvements across our portfolio when it comes to changes in those report card ratings. We will certainly be taking a look at what this tells us. And as we do so, we'll also be mindful around what do these various inputs tell us, because the MCAP isn't the only input. So there are various college career readiness data for high schools, there's attendance data, there are a variety of different measures that are included, because the report card really is intended to provide more of a comprehensive view of the factors that demonstrate that a school is effectively serving students well. So our ability to understand that is something that we're gonna have to take a fresh look at in light of this renewed use of an accountability report card.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, great. I want to thank Chief Jones for her work in getting this together, both the OAA team as well as our communications team. We're really working around the clock, and as Commissioner Coy said, I just want to thank you again for the quick turnaround work, and we will be working with schools moving forward, as Chief Jones said, to really begin to ramp up again the acceleration in both areas. So thank you again, Chief Jones. This afternoon, I had the opportunity, not this afternoon, sorry. This morning, I had the opportunity to watch as our Teacher of the Year, now our Maryland State Teacher of the Year, was honored by the State Board of Education. Ms. Beryl Dudney was present today, and Principal Mark Martin of Commodore John Rogers and I were just privileged to be there with her. I will give a shout out again. It is clear that she is now truly Maryland's Teacher of the Year. The State Board was very gracious and just very complimentary of her work, the power of that work. And I will say she gave a very rousing charge to our Maryland State Board around really the direction for the state in early learning and learning period. And it was just something to behold, and I think her authenticity, and as she always, something that she does always that endears herself to us here in Baltimore City, translated today as she spoke about her students, and she spoke about what they were able to do, their genius, and then, like I said, charged the state board with 3 things that they could do to support quality early learning. So it was a privilege to be there. Principal Martin was also really acknowledged and celebrated as the chair of the state board asked him, so what do you do to develop schools like those in the 100% Project where teachers actually are leaders? And he had a chance to share that. So I think we can all be proud of just how others are learning from our successes here in Baltimore City. So I want to thank Beryl and Principal Martin for representing us well today. And then finally on Saturday, and if they get the pictures, that's great. If they don't, you can see them a little later. I had the pleasure of attending the CEO Cup robotics tournament that took place at the PDC. And I have to say, this is one of my favorite events of the year. We had 40 city schools teams competing in person. And then yesterday, 32 of those teams competed in the Charm City State Qualifier. Now, for those of you who may not know, robotics in city schools has been one of those things that has grown and gained momentum over the last decade. And currently, some fun facts that should make us proud. Baltimore City is number 3 in the country in terms of the teams robotics teams we have per capita in the VRC VIQC program. So that's 3rd in the country, not just in the state, but in the country. And we have the top 5 teams in the elementary state robotic skills rankings, as well as 8 out of the top 10 and 17 of the out of the top 10 and 17 out of the top 20. And I need to make note that this is all of the schools in Maryland in every zip code, including some of the private and independent schools. So Baltimore City has the top team in the middle school state robotic skills ranking, and city schools' VEX IQ programs represent 45% of the VEX robotics teams across the entire state. So I just want to give a big congratulations to Gino Tagatai and his coaches. I met a number, Gino had me there, but there were so many teacher coaches I met who were out at 9:30 on a Saturday morning when they could have been home, they could have been out with their own families doing something. And when I spoke with each and every one of them, they said that the students were worth it, and that being there to support them and their teams was just something that was that important to them. So I just want to thank all of you, and I want to say best wishes for success in the state finals. And Madam Chair, this concludes my remarks for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Santelises. So much exciting things happening in city schools, those exciting times. I am going to ask, if you are not presenting, to turn your camera off. I just needed to make that announcement. And we will now hear from parent, community, and advisory boards. We'll hear the quarterly report from PCAB. Thank you.
That's why you were on the screen, right? Can you hear me? We can see you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
That's why she's on, because she's presenting to us
I'm
tonight.
sorry. I didn't know I was supposed to keep it off until I was ready. Angie Winder here. I'm Vice Chair for PCAB, which stands for the Parent and Community Advisory Board. Our chair is Larry Simmons, so he is unable to do the report. We're actually consist of 14 board members. I always like to make sure that we at least acknowledge that we're doing some amazing work. And so hopefully I can summarize our quarterly report with doing this committee report. I do want to say, if anyone does not know, first of all, thank you for, I love the fact that you have this hybrid meeting, and I would love to have been there. I just didn't know if I could make it there in time. But I'm so grateful for the partnership with city schools. PCAB serves to advise the CEO of Baltimore City Public Schools and the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners about how parents, families, and the community and educators can collaborate to help our youth succeed. So what you'll see in this report, or hear from this report, is all of the work that we've been doing in the last 3 months. We have 5 standing committees. One is the budget committee. And again, I'm gonna try my best to summarize, but I will also send this over to Christian Gant to make sure that it's on for public records. We have our PCAB policy committee, as chaired by Rachel Duncan. PCAB policy committee focus is work around the 3 PCAB policy priorities for the school year. One, first was the policy ADH, community school strategy, scheduled for January, introduction to the school board policy committee. District staff met with PCAB members in December for feedback, which included a push for the policy to hold principals more accountable for implementation of the community schools strategy at their schools, rather than leaving the work entirely on the shoulders of community school coordinators. The second one was regarding policy FCA, closing of schools, scheduled for March school board policy committee introduction. PCAB made public comment at the November board policy committee meeting, again to request commitment from the district to study what happens to students who have to attend another school after theirs is closed, in order to determine what the educational outcome are for those children. With this type of data, we would be able to use factual evidence to evaluate the effectiveness of this policy, which has been in place for 12 years without any sustained effort by the district to determine whether its actions is closing schools actually increased access to high quality academic programming as stated in the current policy's purpose. And then finally, regarding the policy JAA, student government, scheduled for pre-draft and discussion at the January School Board Policy Committee, PCAP was happy to see the scheduling for this meeting had been pushed to 4 p.m. later in the afternoon, which will be a more inclusive time to ensure the student commissioner and other Baltimore City school students had the opportunity to participate in the discussion. And PCAP stands ready to support student leadership in ensuring this policy revision centers and evaluates students' voices in city schools' decision-making. I am also going to read the report of the Budget Committee, which is also chaired by Rachel Duncan. And again, this report is from October 1st through the 1st, 2022 until December 31st. PCAP's Budget Committee partnered with Baltimore City Schools to host a virtual forum on December 15th for families and community partners to engage in conversation about the district's budget priorities for the 2023-24 school year. Regarding school level budgets, PCAP is continuing to share information about the priority engagement sessions school leaders are hosting in January. Our focus in the new year is to continue pushing for additional detail and transparency to be shared with the public on how their school level budget allocations are calculated. We have also communication. During this time, communications is chaired by Kiara David Griffin. PCAP welcomed 306 new users to our website. If you have not seen the website, she is doing that entire committee is doing some amazing work. It is PCAP.baltimore.org. Again, on a great website. But we welcome 306 new users to our website, mostly to receive information and or to register. We had a big push December 15th during the budget forum. And to find out more about board members, the budget forum reached 584 people on Facebook and was viewed 226 times. On social, PCAP saw a 47.1 increase in new likes on Facebook and a 33 increase in new followers on Instagram. We're also on Twitter, so follow us on any of those social media plugs or on our website for updates. And our meetings are streamed through our Facebook page. So a lot of great works from the Communications Committee. We have the family, and I'm almost done. We have the Family and Community Engagement Committee. It is chaired by Nicole Humphrey. They meet monthly. Meetings are held the fourth Thursday of each month, virtually from 6 to 7. Let me see. Sorry, I'm reading off my phone for this one. So the meetings, again, are virtual. Basically, the summary of the committee work. They've created a charter, established goals and objectives, established the meeting time, attended 3 community events to market PCAP. One was at Patterson Charter. Another was the Project Healthy Communities, and another one was a Health and Wellness Expo. This was back in November and December. And then they made a plan to connect with all schools via their community school coordinators. So a great, amazing work that they're doing and working on sending out newsletters. The last one is our Teaching and Learning Committee that is chaired by Jessica Schiller. Let me just summarize this. The initial work of this committee was to ask a series of questions to the CAO to get clarity on policies from grading and assessments to the qualifications for school athletes and arts education. They did a very swift communication from the district that clarified those questions. Since then, the committee has been reviewing the Teaching and Learning Committee meetings from city schools and tracking their work. Additionally, the committee is interested in digging into how the district procures curriculum, decision-making procedures for this, and how it decides what to mandate for teachers. The committee meets again on January 30th at 5:30. Again, all of our meetings are public. We do encourage you all, if you want to get involved, and this is for anyone in public, and the community members, we are seeking community members to help with this and support our mission. We have a lot of work, and on top of all of that, the executive board, we meet monthly with the OCCE, and if anyone does not know, that's the Office of Communications and Community Engagement. We meet with them once a month, and we have gotten a lot of work done. So big shout out to Chief Heike Hubbard and her amazing team. And thank you, Baltimore City Public Schools, for the partnership of all we're doing. And we are looking forward to continuing this partnership and this teamwork. And I will open it up to the board if any questions or comments.
Yeah, thank you for that presentation. And it's been I've had the opportunity to join some of the PCAB conversations with board members over the past couple of weeks, and I've appreciated the work that you all are doing. My question for you here is if there's anything you would like to lift up that we as the school board can do to support the important work of PCAB directly. Like, is there anything you would like for us to do more of? Or less of, I guess. But what would you like us to do to help?
Well, I won't say less. Thank you for that great question. And, for me, and this is me personally, I'm all about community. I'm all about engagement. And I think that reflects every board member. And so for us, it's just keeping that communication open. And usually even what we're seeing in our meetings is the follow-up is already doing well. I think just increasing that communication would be the best, but that's across the board. Even when we're connecting with schools, it's really hard. So helping us when it comes to maybe data that we may need to help us with decision makings, that would be a plus. And again, just keeping that partnership and communication open. That is like the best thing I could say at this moment. But we always are emailing, Chief Heike Hubbard could probably let you know. We're always either holding it for our monthly meeting to say what's needed, and or we're sending emails. So we're just appreciative to feel like, we are being heard and supported by the district.
That's good to hear. Thank you. You have a Commissioner McFadden?
Just a follow up, just want to say thank you for your commitment to PCAB, to the work. It's great to have you, and also your work throughout the city. You're an anchor in the Northeast area of our city, and also your involvement with MERVO. It is not to go unnoticed. So it takes a village, right, to raise just one. So the more of us that come together for the sake of our children and our communities, that's how we're going to move forward as a people and as a city. So thank you for your service, and thank you for your commitment with PCAB.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I want to now review the consent agenda. So board colleagues, please let me know if you would like an item removed, and please state your question for the staff. I will be pulling 8.01, renaming space within a school, so that our student commissioner can also vote on that item. 11.01, Shield T3 Health. Do you watch up there for me? Thank you. 16.01, P&A Administrative Services. 19.01, Morrison Consulting. 19.02, Veritronics LLC. 19.03, Youth Ambassador Leadership Academy contract. Commissioner Poi, what's your question?
Yes, this came up through the operations committee meeting, and one of the things that the procurement request highlights are some of the successes of this program, and I would love to just pull it for the opportunity for staff to speak to some of the successes. I have no specific question about the item as a procurement item, but I think lifting up the great work that's happening here is valuable.
Okay, thank you. We'll be pulling 19.03, and I hope the staff did catch that. We'll move to public comment. Speakers from recognized groups will have the opportunity to speak. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I was on a roll, sir. Okay, go ahead.
With item 8.01, I just want to pull that. I know you pulled that already, but just want to lift up a comment when we get to that particular item before we vote this evening, if that's okay.
Sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And apologies again. Okay, speakers from recognized groups will have the opportunity to speak for 5 minutes. We do have Christina Duncan Evans representing the Baltimore Teachers Union. Is Ms. Duncan Evans with us? Okay, why don't we, Christian, is she speaking live or did she submit a video?
I'll say, Madam Chair, I apologize. I thought that was in person, but that was a video, so I'm about to pull it up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Please bear with me, y'all. I get a lot of videos.
Good evening. My name is Christina Duncan Evans, and I'm representing the Baltimore Teachers Union. Thank you for taking the time to hear our concerns. We understand that the partnership between the board and its employees is the only way that we can address the challenges that face us. Collaboration is critical if we're to take advantage of the opportunities and vision in the Blueprint for Maryland's future. We recognize that while we are facing a once-in-a-generation opportunity for increased funding and transformative change in our school district, we are doing so in the context of pandemic recovery and during a time of large numbers of vacancies in schools, at central office, and even at the Maryland State Department of Education. When capacity concerns risk impacting the critical work of implementing the blueprint, we ask that you lean on the BTU, on our membership's institutional knowledge, and on the leadership of the BTU's ability to quickly communicate with our members and represent them. We're aware of the district's practice of using focus groups and selected advisory groups for policy and implementation feedback. While those mechanisms can be useful, they're not a substitute for deep and ongoing collaborative partnerships with the democratically elected leadership that represents 4 out of 5 city schools employees. We have institutional knowledge and deep familiarity with our context and our students, and we want them and our schools to succeed. Despite several waves of policy and programmatic changes that will affect our members, central office staff have yet to meaningfully engage with the BTU on areas of shared concern and interest. They have only begun to discuss the topic of career pathways mandated by the blueprint and on the areas of CTE, more support for struggling students, and early childhood education. We have had no engagement with the district. We are ready to be your partners in this work, and we hope that you will engage us on these topics so that staff can have access to clear and comprehensive communication about the changes that are in store. Teachers and PSRPs need to understand what the blueprint means in practical terms for their schools and what this additional funding is meant for. This year, I've told dozens of teachers the specific dollar amounts that have been added to their school budgets, and each time it's been met with disbelief. BTU members respond to this news by saying, "What do you mean there's an additional $970,000 available this year? Our students need more SEL support. We need more opportunities for them, more mentoring, more people in the building." And all I keep hearing from my administration is that there's no money. Where is this money going? Currently, on City Schools' website, there are links to each school's budget. The documents are from fiscal year 19. People want to attend the town halls being held on Kerwin implementation, but people only learned of them this Monday. And the first one is in 2 days on Thursday. People, especially working families, need more than a week's notice for an event like this. We have several long-standing and ongoing concerns with Kerwin implementation, and we understand the challenges of this moment. Baltimore City Public Schools has been underfunded since segregation, and even with current funding, we will only reach parity towards the end of the 10-year policy cycle. We are facing the same staffing shortages and retention issues as always, except now the rest of the country is experiencing the same thing, making the market for educational staff that much more competitive. To counter these challenges, we need a staffing strategy, transparency, creativity, and vision for the challenges ahead. In this and several other areas, the BTU is ready and willing to partner with Baltimore City Public Schools for the challenges and changes coming ahead. Thank you.
Thank you to you. Mr. Gant, we'll turn it over to you for the duration of our public comment portion.
Thank you. Our first public comment is a video from Ms. Melissa McDonald.
Hello, my name is Melissa McDonald, and I'm an ELA teacher at Connections. I'm providing public comment around the ongoing certification crisis in Baltimore City Public Schools. As we continue to provide public testimony to the board, the BTU Certification Task Force continues to stand ready to work with Chief Nelson and BCPSS for solutions to our certification crisis. Teachers across the district are experiencing severe delays in having their certification documents processed. One of the reasons that is totally unacceptable is that City Schools has failed to make the proper payments to MSDE for certification, further causing delays. Many of these payments have been pending since May of 2022. Despite being approved for renewal, educators cannot access their certifications because the district has not paid the $10 fee to MSDE to process the certification. Educators need to show their copy of their certification for many different events, such as applying for the National Board Certification, applying for summer PD opportunities, applying for summer and school year work. Special educators need their certification to be up to date to complete paperwork, such as third-party billing. This is an issue that directly impacts retention of employees if they cannot access their certification. On October 24th, 2022, the BTU was told by Labor Relations that the district was working with procurement to pay the $10 fees so recertifications can be processed. We were told that Sarah Deal would be handling this issue. We have reached out to Ms. Deal on a number of occasions and have not gotten an update on this issue. We continue to receive pleas from desperate members who have not been able to access their certification for months now, despite being approved because the district has not paid MSDE. Most disconcerting was when a member recently received an update from the Office of Certification stating, quote, "There is no way to expedite the process. The district is fully aware of the issue and developing solutions to rectify the matter." Quote, what's going on? Why can't we pay our bills? If the district is developing solutions, then these need to be communicated to the BTU and the members who are affected. If there is no way to expedite the process, then there is a timeline that exists, and this timeline needs to be shared with affected educators and the BTU. The BTU Certification Task Force stands ready to work with Chief Nelson, Baltimore City Public Schools, and the school board for solutions to this certification crisis. We are awaiting this opportunity. Thank you.
The next comment, public comment, is a video from Mr. Nathan Farrell.
My name is Nathan Farrell, and I'm a teacher with City Schools and a member of the PCAB Policy Committee. I'm providing public comment around the need to develop and immediately deploy exit surveys for students, families, and employees that leave the district. The BTU has advocated for years for city schools to have meaningful exit interviews. As we continue to see specific content areas with high attrition rates of educators, and as we evolve systems and supports in alignment with Blueprint implementation, meaningful exit interviews must be employed to support our efforts. Exit interviews provide essential data about high levels of attrition in certain sectors of our workforce and how we can target support, coaching, and even compensation structures to recruit and retain. Our partners at the Fund for Educational Excellence have observed that although most districts find it difficult to employ robust, diligent systems of exit interviews, they have something. City Schools does not employ any meaningful or standardized system of exit interviews, and this is unacceptable. During the Board Policy Committee meeting on January 17th, I was very encouraged by the questioning and priorities presented by Commissioner Griffin, Coy, Sally, Esposito, and Kat Zogby in their conversation with Chief Davis around the need not only for interviews of staff, but particularly for our students and families who leave the district. In the summers of 2017 and 2018, I participated in the Baltimore Teachers Union B3, or Bring Back Baltimore program. And over those summers, teachers and paraprofessionals canvassed neighborhoods throughout the city, knocking on doors and speaking with parents and guardians to encourage enrollment and re-enrollment of children into city schools. The data collection that we achieved painted an important picture about why parents leave the district and the barriers facing our families in terms of re-enrollment. During the January 17th Policy Committee meeting, there seemed to be a disconnect between the real concerns of the board members and what Chief Davis perceived as sufficient data. Chief Davis asserts that a withdrawal code in Infinite Campus or an anecdotal conversation with a student and family at the re-engagement center is meaningful data collection. That can be part of it, but does not replace the need for exit interviews. Developing and implementing exit surveys and interviews must be an iterative process. Try and try again. Do not let perfection be the enemy of at least something. I encourage the commissioners to continue to advocate that Chief Davis immediately deploy a draft version of the survey using a Google form if necessary. It actually loads well on cell phones for parents and young people. And they can post a QR code in the Office of Re-enrollment and Engagement. See what happens, reflect, adjust, and try again. The same approach can be employed by Chief Nielsen in Human Capital with staff who resigned from the district. Commissioners, thank you for asking the tough questions. In particular, Commissioner Kat Zogby for bringing an essential perspective of barriers to re-enrollment for secondary students. I hope that we can see immediate deployment of exit surveys for students, families, and employees that leave the district. Even if the first iteration is not perfect, it's better than nothing.
Okay, that was the last public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Gant. We are going to go to the item that Commissioner Coy pulled. I believe that is item 19.03. Do we have staff available to discuss some of the highlights that Commissioner Coy mentioned? Angela? Okay, great. We have Ms. Alvarez, we have Mr. Shaw. Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to introduce Ms. Angela Alvarez, the Executive Director of the Office of New Initiatives, Mr. Roger Shaw, who is one of our Instructional Leadership Executive Directors. Am I correct?
Correct.
That's correct. Yes. So YALA's had been doing new work for us and engaging populations. We've piloted with 2 schools last year. And so engaging students identified by the school leaders at needing additional support. So students who were having challenges with other students, like behavior issues, students who had issues with attendance that might be connected to behavior or community things, and doing wraparound supports. What we've seen so far is promising. I think we're still looking at and collecting data from this year, but they were able to cut students who were identified as having early warning indicators around behavior and disciplines in half through that work. Attendance is still pretty consistent with other things, but mainly in the space of behavior, which is a huge thing. I think when we came back from the pandemic, we had a lot of schools experiencing disruptions with students, I think bringing things that I think pent up over time into the space of being back in school with other students. And Roger can speak about some specific examples.
Good evening again. And so when we talk about the work of YALA and how they're working, one of the main things that they do very well is build quality and connected relationships. And those quality and connected relationships help engage families and students who are struggling, maybe in the community, maybe academically, maybe with attendance. And they have a way of engaging families beyond the school. They engage families in their homes, they engage families in the community, they engage families in churches. And what that does is they build these relationships and their family trusts them and the students trust them. And they're able to get at some of the core challenges at the school level that impact the data. And so that is one of the greatest things I've seen them do. I also know that they provide workshops and conferences for students. Students who have been struggling throughout the year. In May, they have a conference for the young ladies and a conference for the males. And those same students become leaders in those conferences. And so it's one of those things they do well. And so engaging to help them be successful in school is really what they do well.
Yeah, one thing that I'll sort of just underscore in what you're saying, is the adage that nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care, and thinking about the relationship building that has to happen. Schools are the beating heart of communities, and that takes a lot of effort and outreach, and that some of the behavioral concerns, issues, and challenges are manifestations of other aspects that need to be addressed before learning can really occur. So thank you for that work. And as I look at the items that are highlighted in the procurement here, around which the vendor will be able to support improving attendance, reduction in number of students who are at risk for chronic absence, and a reduction in behavioral challenges such as suspensions. I'd encourage broadly, to think about the reporting that vendors are required to provide to ease some of the burden on school staff, right? That as you have some of these contracts and as you're working with different vendors, building into that the key performance measures, how they are reporting those, making it as simple as possible for then those to be reported up and not burden elsewhere. But I think the work that you all are doing, and I'm glad to see this work yielding results. And so thank you for taking some time to speak to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners have any questions around item 19.03? Thank you. We'll now move back to item 8.01. Renaming space within a school. Commissioner Sally.
Yeah, so I just maybe I'll turn it to Ms. Alvarez for just a moment, just to talk a little bit about why these things are really important in terms of bringing communities together. But I want to start by highlighting that myself and the board chair had an opportunity to visit this particular school. And one of the things that I think, first to give a shout out to Principal Hill and her entire staff for making sure that we felt very welcomed at the school. And the school really,
Hey,
she's
Principal
on
Hill.
board on here. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I wanted to thank you. I have an email that's coming to you to say thank you so much for making sure that we all felt very hospitable, but also really took the time to really help paint the context of two schools coming together, and what that means for the students. So I can say personally from my lens and my shoes that from the minute I walked into the school building to the minute I left, we got a sense that there was a lot of purposeful intention in terms of bringing together two schools and two communities. So I'll turn it to you guys to talk a little bit more about why this is important.
I'm Lindsay Anderson. I'm a specialist in the Office of New Initiatives.
Principal Hill, you want to introduce yourself, Principal Hill?
Good evening, everyone. Kimberly Hill, principal of Marion Winterland Elementary School.
You know what? Sorry, I'm realizing a glitch. I'm not used to being in person and projecting. And so we've got a projector presentation. So give us 1 second. Sorry, members of the public.
Yep, yeah, if you'd like, yeah, why don't we pull it for presentation?
Sorry, I'm sorry. I got confused about
No,
where
we don't
the
need to
agenda
pull it for presentation. I'm sorry about that. No, it's just a comment. Do we want to present? I'm sorry.
Normally for something like this, we present it.
Got it.
Go ahead,
Please do.
Tom. Go ahead.
I'm so
Move
sorry.
forward.
Okay, sorry. I got all twisted. We can go to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, so this aligns. So tonight we're presenting the request from the Marion Winterling school community to rename their auditorium. This aligns to board priority 4, that city schools will effectively engage all stakeholders, which includes parents, families, and caregivers in their child's education and community partners who can contribute to the student success. Not named here as students. The students are also a big part of the engagement you'll see. And priority number 7, that city schools will continue to work towards equity at all levels by implementing policies, practices, and procedures that create a welcoming and inclusive environment. Get to the next slide. So this, as Commissioner Sally was just discussing, came about as part of the work of bringing 2 school communities together. In January 2021, the board approved the closure of Lockerman Bundy and the combining of these 2 school communities in Marion Winterling, which they fully came together last school year as their first school year together as a single school community. Part of what shepherded that work was a joint transition committee that had members from both school communities, who did work of really creating a shared mission together and vision for what the school would be, identified important traditions and elements of school culture. And that was really evident in the visit. You can see things that existed at Marion Winterling prior to the merger that are still maintained, and practices that came over from Lockerman Bundy, really visually in the space and lived in the space. And then also included activities for students and families to get to know each other. City schools as part of that also, you can go to the next slide, sorry. City schools as part of that, and I think this is one of the things that people miss when we're talking about making these hard decisions, is that we also ensure and work with our facilities team to pair these changes with physical investments within the school. And so as a district, so far, we've already invested $920,000 to do improvements within the school building, with more improvements coming soon. So the school got new lighting throughout, new pre-K classroom, new office spaces for partners and related service providers, and new student and staff bathrooms throughout the building. And part of what we saw as a result of the mergers, an increase in enrollment, and an increase in the school's ability to do certain things. And Principal Hill Miller, I hope I'm not putting you in a spot, but if you could just share like a couple of changes, things you were able to do, like from staffing or partners, that you weren't able to do as a smaller school, but then you were able to do when you combine.
Yes. So when we combine schools, we now have more staff. We are able to have our teachers plan collaboratively with more staff members instead of just a single person. Before, they just had the individual planning and they did the content planning. There was only one teacher per grade level at both schools. So now they're up to 2 to 3 teachers that are collaborating together. We have more resource classes now. We've just added more to our fine arts, where we have drama and drumming that our kids are excited about. And we also have additional interventions. So we were able to bring over the MTSS, multi-tier system of support model, at Marion Winterling. And so now 75% of our students are receiving interventions, tier 2 and tier 3 interventions.
Thank you. Next slide.
And so part of the goals of renaming of this work was to preserve the legacy of Lockerman Bundy Elementary School and its history within our school system, to continue to honor the legacies of the educators. So these schools were named for educators and within Baltimore and within our school system, and then to also create shared legacy between the school communities. Next slide.
And so we wanted to just go a little bit into the people who these schools are named after. Mary Ann Winterling was a revered principal who endeared herself to her students and their families for 35 years at Bentaloo Elementary School. So after she passed away, the school was renamed Mary Ann Winterling Elementary School at Bentaloo. Next slide, please. Joseph Harrison Lockerman was a graduate of the Centenary Biblical Institute, which is now Morgan State University. In 1911, he became the first African-American principal of the new Colored High and Training School for African-American Teachers. That's now Coppin State University. We found this in doing research on the relation of the names to the schools, but during his principal tenure there, Coppin Normal School was co-located in a building with an elementary school, school number 100. And that school was eventually named after him. It was Joseph Harrison Lockerman Elementary School. So when School 100 moved to its location on Pulaski Street, the name was expanded to include Vivian Hall Bundy. So that's where Lockerman Bundy came together. Next slide, please. And Vivian Hall Bundy was a graduate of Coppin State University in 1918 and worked in Baltimore's Black schools for over 4 decades. She taught at 9 schools, was the vice principal of 2, and the principal of 4 schools. Next slide. And so this slide is just an abbreviated outline of the naming request policy requirements. The first step is to make the request via Form 1 to the Office of Achievement and Accountability. The school leader then convenes a school naming committee. We request the renaming go forward in a public meeting, and that happened on November 9th here. And then we convene a community engagement process at the school level to select the new name. And then the results are shared in public and the board is asked to vote to approve the new name. So that's where we are today. Next slide, please. And Principal Hill-Miller is just going to talk through why the auditorium was chosen as the space we are considering for the new name.
Okay, as you enter our building, on our main floor, one of the first spaces that visitors will see entering the building is our auditorium. That is one of the most important spaces in our school. It's a place where our students, staff, and parents come together for educational, cultural, and social activities. They participate in drama and drumming classes on the stage daily, and they showcase their creativity and learn about different cultures. Our parents and community members gather in the auditorium to help recognize our students' achievements quarterly during our awards program. And we also have many different performances. We have concerts through our partnerships with the BSO's Orchids and the Singing Sensations Choir, as well as other school assemblies. So our auditorium basically showcases the multiple talents that our students have, which is one of the many highlights of their educational careers. Do you want me to continue? Okay.
Next.
So I'm now going to talk about the voting process. In December, the week of December 12th, we had a committee that consists of parents, staff, community members, and students. And during our meeting for our first naming process committee, our students were able to give us input on how we should conduct our voting process. And so we they came up with an idea of introducing the process to the entire school community. And they explained why it was important to name the auditorium after the legacy of Bundy and also Lockerman. The week of December 19th, before winter break, we had some classroom activities about Lockerman, Bundy, and also Winterling. And so the kids were able to do some comparing and contrasting. They were amazed at how the three of them had many different similarities. They were important educators in Baltimore City. And during the winter break, they also had some writing activities where they did persuasive essays on naming the auditorium after Lockerman and Bundy. When we came back from winter break, the week of January 3rd, we continued to, on our virtual morning announcements, discuss the legacies of Lockerman and Bundy and the reasons why we wanted to name the auditorium after them. The same week, our students, our 5th grade students, they were able to create voting boxes, and they went around to each classroom and described the voting, gave them information about the voting process. Our students were so excited from pre-K all the way to 5th grade. Once they got their ballots, they were able to vote. Our 5th grade students, they even demonstrated how they would check yes or no on whether or not we should name the auditorium after Lockerman and Bundy. And they were just excited and lining up and putting their ballots in the box. So after they voted, the entire school body voted, the committee, the 5th graders, as you can see on the screen, they collected all of the votes and they started counting. We also had an opportunity for the parents, staff, and the community members to vote on the naming of the auditorium virtually. We had a link, we had a QR code on social media. We had in our monthly parent newsletter for them to vote, and we also had flyers that we sent home along with the parent link calls encouraging them to vote. And then on January 4th, January 5th, we announced the final results.
Next slide.
And so as you can see, the vote was yes. 86% of our entire school community voted for our auditorium to be named after Lockerman Bundy. So next school year, we would like to name the auditorium Lockerman Bundy Auditorium to preserve the legacies of Lockerman and Bundy.
And so tonight we're asking the board to approve this naming request. So we need to take a vote.
Thank you. To the staff, to the staff, and to our Lockerman, our Mary Ann Winterling school community. Thank you to all of our students and everyone who participated in this process. Is there a motion to approve item 8.01?
So moved, Commissioner Sally.
Thank you, Commissioner Sally. Is there a second?
Second, Coy.
Thank you, Commissioner Coy. All in favor? Commissioner Coy.
Yes.
Commissioner Griffin.
Yes.
Commissioner Katz-Oxby.
Yes.
Commissioner Reed.
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts.
Yes.
Commissioner Sally.
Yes.
Chair Richardson.
Yes.
I'm in favor. That is 8 in favor with 2 absent. That motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Yay.
Yes,
Congratulations. Congratulations.
And
Thank you so much.
We're very excited, for you to lead that school community. I remember visiting shortly after the 2 schools merged, and we spent some time together on a visit. And just your demeanor, your care, your attention to detail. Although you had us in your building visiting with your ILED, students were still running up to you, asking you questions, and you maintained the exact same care for them as you gave to us while we were in that space. And thank you for the merch that you gifted me with on my way out. The board commissioners like merch when we come to schools, by the way. So I just want to say that to our school leaders so that we can represent. But thank you all for all of your work. And we look forward to more visits soon.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Just one closing comment, since just doubling down, and thank you for making scholars available for us. When Chair Richardson and I came to the school to hear from their own words and their own experience, especially students who came from Lockerman Bundy, about how welcome they felt, the minute they came to the school, how welcoming and how excited they are to be a part of a brand new merged community, really helped to illuminate the visit for us and see the hard work that all of you guys are putting into it. So thank you again. We were very honored for the opportunity to come out and join you last Friday.
You're welcome.
And I
Thank
just
you
want to
for
say,
visiting.
I just want to say, go Bears. I would expect nothing less from a Morganite, my girl.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the remaining consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. Is there a second?
Second, Sally.
Thank you, Commissioner Sally. All in favor? Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Griffin?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
Chair Richardson?
Yes.
And I'm in favor. That is 7 in favor with 2 absent. That motion passes. We will now hear an information item on waiver requests, Bang Bidding and Bites at Hampstead Hill Academy.
Good evening. I'm Gregory Gamble. I'm the real estate agent and the Office of Real Estate and Permits. I was hoping that the principal for Hampstead Hill would be on.
Thank you. While that's coming up, is the principal from Hampstead Hill with us this evening?
I can. I could just read the information that he presented. I won't be able to answer any direct questions since this is their waiver request.
Madam Chair, I just have one question. Thank you so much, Mr. Gamble. I'm not sure that I saw any mention of a certificate of liability insurance, and I know that's something that your office typically handles. Do we know if they submitted a certificate of liability insurance?
Yes, they were submitted after this process is complete, because we normally don't want to submit it now. And if you guys say no, then they just wasted the money in getting the insurance coverage.
So pending approval, they will get a certificate of it. Okay.
Yes.
And that's for what, $1 million?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Sorry, since no one from the school is here, we are going to try to contact the operator and see if we can get somebody to speak on the Hampstead Hill request, because as of now, no one is here.
Move it to the next meeting.
Or we could, do you know what the date of the?
I took a look at it. It's April.
Yes,
Great, we can move it to the next meeting. Let's move it to the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're now moving into item 10.01, board committee reports. Is there a report from the operations committee?
Thank you, sir. Vice Chair. There is not a committee report for operations tonight.
Thank you, Madam Operations Chair. Do we have a policy committee report this evening?
So on behalf of Commissioner Griffin, we don't
I'm here.
inform. Oh, she is here this evening.
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm
still
so
here.
sorry to steal your
I'm
thunder.
just on the move, that's all. That's okay. No report that I had to share, just that we have shifted our time to 4 p.m. just to make sure everybody knows, also in the public meeting, that policy committee meetings happen at 4 p.m. now to 6 p.m. And that we've just been having some really great, robust conversations around compliance reports and around policies. And I'm excited to continue to work with my colleagues on the board. Commissioner Sally, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, nothing additional. I think you're well covered.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Operations Committee Chair. And both of you, thank you for your leadership with committees. Committee leadership is not something that is just given work. So your commitment to leading our committee work, we certainly appreciate that, both Commissioner Roberts and Commissioner Griffin. Thank you. Teaching and Learning Committee will meet on Tuesday. The Teaching and Learning Committee will meet on Tuesday virtually, February 7th, 2023 at 3:30 p.m. Family and Community Board Forum, we're having another one, and we're looking forward to having members of our community present, our stakeholders at Edmondson Westside High School on Wednesday, February 8th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. The board will meet in executive session on Tuesday, February 14th, it's Valentine's Day, at 3 o'clock. And the board will meet publicly within a hybrid meeting like tonight, that same evening at 5 o'clock. Work session for operator renewal will be Thursday, February 16th at 6:30 p.m. The operations committee will meet again on the 21st of February at 10:30 a.m. And the policy committee will meet that same day in the afternoon at 4 p.m. Looking forward this weekend, I know a few members of the board will be traveling to the District of Columbia for the National School Board Association's Equity Symposium and Advocacy Institute. We definitely will be bringing back some information to the full board and to our community as to how we're able to network, but also learn how to best advocate for our students and students in urban communities across the country. With that, is there anything else for the good of the group? Is there a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Chair Richardson. Is there a second?
If I can have just one comment to lift up as something that's happening, recognizing that this Friday we have two new commissioners being sworn in on Friday by the mayor. So these are our first two elected commissioners, but just recognizing that that's happening this Friday as well.
Thank you. I'll take that as a second as well. Commissioner Coy, all in favor, just answer by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Thank you. Hearing none, we are adjourned this evening. Have a great evening and enjoy the rest of your week, everyone.
Good night.
I'm here now.
Are you on Teams?
Yes.
I think it's too late. I think they moved on.
Oh,
Both Angela and Chris were both calling me and they both said, oh, they moved on. They postponed it. So when's your event?
April 29th.
You're fine. You got plenty of time.
So yeah, I'm sorry. I was 8 minutes after Pfeiffer wrote me and 7 minutes after Chris wrote me. So
Well, you haven't normally had to speak before, have you?
hang on a second. I want to make sure I'm not on.
Okay.